Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. This is Football at 4.
Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, and it is brought to you today by the Gallery Bar, Book, and Games and Ocean Casino Resort. This football season, cheers your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Go to the Gallery in Ocean Casino and go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older to play. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Geoff Mosher from InsideTheBirds.com and the Inside the Birds podcast is here as the Eagles are getting ready to head to Cleveland to take on the Browns on an exhibition Sunday, plus 2 joint practices, Motion. I guess we all kind of realize now that these joint practices, Thursdays and Friday, are a little bit more important to some of these Eagle players maybe than even the game on Sunday.
Yeah, probably from an evaluation standpoint, Mike, because it's anyone's guess, and I think we can make an educated one about how much the starters are going to play in that game, to the point where we could ask if the starters are going to play at all in the game. So really if Nick Sirianni treats these joint practices like the exhibition games, and doesn't play his starters, then really your only evaluation for a lot of these guys will be in these joint practices.
Yeah, and I know that the game on Sunday, you're going to see some guys, but I would imagine you're not going to see the starters because of these joint practices, right?
Yeah, it's possible. It all depends on how Nick Sirianni goes about it. But I don't believe, if I recall last year, Jalen Hurts was slated to play in the second game, but didn't because he had those stomach issues. I think he had to go to the hospital at the last second or something like that with some bad stomach issues. But then a couple other starters, the starting offensive line may not have played in that game as well. So I don't think they had joint practices last year for the second game anyway. It was just the third, if I'm correct. So my memory is not so great these days anymore. But they treat these joint practices more like games, and they're more competitive because A, all the starters are in, and B, they can simulate any type of game scenario that may not come up in one drive. Like, for example, last week, right, you did see, I guess it was sort of red zone, right? It wound up being a 22-yard touchdown to Dallas Goedert after a penalty had backed him up. So they were in the red zone for like a cup of coffee there. But there wasn't any 3rd and 1. There wasn't any 4th and 1. There weren't certain scenarios that you would want to see the team get tested on. You can work with the other coach to simulate that in practice, situational football that may just never come up in a game.
Yeah, I know that, I always bring up, like, hey, 3rd down and 7, who's my go-to guy? You may never get that down in distance in a game, but you can say, hey, I want 3rd and 7, and I'm going to run 10 plays with the 3rd down and 7 against your defense, try to stop us. So you get a chance to get 10 looks at 3rd and 7, and that's kind of where we are, because you just wonder, though, too, with Zach Wilson getting hurt, there's one quarterback already that went down in a preseason game. You can get hurt in these joint practices, or I would imagine the quarterbacks can't get hit in these joint practices. That's another difference.
Correct. But where I think the benefit most is not just like you'll definitely see things in these scripted practices that you might not see in a game, but in most games, coordinators and play callers don't want to show their hand. People are watching, there's tape, but in practice, it's not like you have the eyes of the NFL on you. And plus you're repeating certain situational plays over and over and over. So the Eagles will face the Browns defense, which is really good, and the Dolphins defense, which also is very good. And they'll face the defenses in certain situations that will change. It's not like the coordinators are going to say, I have to be vanilla here in practice against the Eagles offense, right? Or against the Eagles defense. They're going to throw their best stuff because they're in an evaluation mode, and the Eagles are going to throw their best stuff out there because they're in an evaluation mode too. Whereas if you took the same teams, the same people, and put them in a stadium and called it a preseason game for the world to see, and then the all-22's out, then everybody clams up and doesn't show anything. So now you get the advantage of actually seeing more intricate defenses, more intricate play calling on offense because it's a joint practice.
Yeah, and I know you just kind of mentioned this is a good team they're facing too, so you're going to get a good test in practice for 2 days. They're doing the joint practices Thursday and Friday before they even play on Sunday. So you're going to get tested early from this Browns defense if you're the Eagles offense here. So this A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devonta Smith, Jalen Hurts, that crew, they're going to get some good looks.
Yeah, think about not even that, just like the one-on-ones, right? I mean, you're going to have like Jordan Mailata versus Myles Garrett in a one-on-one. You're going to have Clowney versus Lane Johnson one-on-one. You'll have Amari Cooper versus Darius Slay in the passing, and defense one-on-one. So that'll be just as exciting, I think, as the team the 11-on-11s.
Yeah, I know. We were talking in the last hour about what these joint practices actually are. What do you do? And it's hey, you do like a normal practice. You do one-on-one stuff. You get to do kind of. You're just facing somebody different as opposed to the same guy that you've seen for the last 3 weeks. And now you get to see Jordan Mailata up against Myles Garrett. You get to see Lane Johnson up against Jadeveon Clowney. So you're getting some different matchups than you've got a chance to face all season long. And that's really where, I don't know for you, Moshe, how many jobs are kind of up for grabs that could be kind of secured with these practices and then the last game, because we would imagine, with only 3 preseason games, is this one like the third one? Do you actually see players play here instead of next week against the Dolphins? I guess we don't know that yet.
Yeah, no, I think the rules have changed, though. I don't think the formula is the same anymore. I mean, you have some teams that don't play any starters at all. You got some teams that do 1 year, don't another year. It's more situational. Adam and I have talked about this. The more teams we talk to, the more they just have gotten away from the copycat mold of the old to just, we're going to do what we think is best for our team, whether it's playing guys or not playing guys.
Yeah, because if it was the old way, this would kind of be that second to last one, and then you don't want to play anybody in the one before the season starts. And so who knows? Right. Maybe they do surprise us and play guys this week. But, the offensive line, the starters at least, we know that. Are there offensive line jobs up for grabs?
No, I don't. Not starting ones.
No.
Stretch of the means.
The guys on the back end that are probably hanging in the balance. Maybe I don't even. No,
I think I think for certain guys. First of all, I think this is more about evaluating now who you are as a team and what you do well. You're still doing individual evals. Trust me, that's going on. But when you face another team that you're seeing fresh new stuff from, you start to get more of that team, us versus them sense, instead of our offense versus our defense is our team versus their team. What do we do well versus this good? And by the way, playing the Browns and Dolphins is good. I mean, these are our two teams with good personnel. I think people laugh at us when we talk about the Dolphins being a team that we expect to be pretty good this year. Not great, but pretty good. But go look at the personnel. You'd love to have those 2 wide receivers. You'd love that their tight end's good. Got some good linemen. They have some good pass rushers, great defensive backs. So we'll be there next week, me and Adam, and that'll be a great challenge too. And of course, the Browns, great offensive line, good defensive line, good secondary. Obviously got Amari Cooper.
I liken them a lot to the Eagles, in which they've got talent. They just have a question mark at the quarterback position. Their quarterback question is way different, though, from the Eagles' quarterback position. But if they had, if they had if they had Deshaun Watson playing, you'd probably think a lot differently about them.
Yeah, I thought you meant Miami. You're right. Cleveland's is way different, and it'll be interesting to see as this the wheels of, I guess I wanted to call them the wheels of justice, more like the wheels of settlement, go on here between the NFLPA or in the NFL and whatever. If the Browns just start giving more reps to Jacoby Brissett this week, just anticipating that he will be the starter for week 1 through week whenever. But either way, this will be really good for both sets of teams. I think that this will be good for guys like Nakobe Dean, who are trying, to make more of an impression. Not that he's done a bad job at all, but TJ Edwards has had a really good camp, and Kazir White's had a good camp. TJ Edwards had a great camp. The more people I speak to about his camp, the more they're raving about it. Yeah. So, but Nakobe Dean looked good in his preseason opener. So he's going to want to, this is, again, good running game here. Good offensive line for the Cleveland Browns. So good chance for the linebackers to really prove themselves.
Well, and you wonder if there's anything that Nakobe Dean can do to, get more playing time, or do we just relegate it to the fact that Edwards and Kaiser White are going to be the guys, and they're going to get a majority of the playing time.
Well, I mean, I hate to say it, but the reality is today is the 17th of August, so you still got 20 days until what's the season opener on the 12th? So 13th, more than that. You got almost what's that?
September 11th.
Oh, September 11th, right? So 17, still 30. Yeah, it's 24 days left. So that's a lot of time, and you've only seen you're a little bit past the halfway point from when camp started. So sure, could Nakobe Dean have a much better 3 weeks over the next 3 weeks than Kaiser White? Sure. Who says he can't? Right. So, and that's what these competitions and will be about.
Yeah. Well, I thought he was impressive on Friday night, and a lot of that. All these guys. I think it's going to be interesting. I think you talked about it Monday. The stamina of Jordan Davis. Does this team, get greedy and just put him out there more snaps than maybe he can handle?
Well, I think the beauty of how they've assembled the defensive line is that even if they're tempted to keep Jordan Davis on the field in a pass rushing situation or more means you're having to take one of Hargrave, Cox, Reddick, or Sweat off the field, or even Brandon Graham, whoever. So that's a difficult conversation to have, especially with the way those guys are able to rush the passer when you're talking about second and long, third down, 60% of the game, right?
Yeah.
So that it's going just like we talk about with, it's tough to take TJ Edwards off the field unless somebody's really outplaying him. It's going to be tough to put Jordan Davis on the field in pass rush situations unless one of those guys I mentioned isn't getting the job done.
Yeah. I guess, we talked Monday about the trade, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. They brought in a safety. That's one spot I guess we'll all be keeping our eye on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday.
Yeah, safety is it's a sore spot, and it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, even more so because of how much they've upgraded everywhere else. But obviously, safety right now is a big issue. Marcus Epps is their best safety, certainly their best coverage safety. The guy hasn't even been a starter for a year. I mean, everything we've seen Marcus Epps is flashing in certain games, but he has had a good camp. And then everybody after Marcus Epps, I think you got to be on watch for, because Howie Roseman is aggressive. He knows that this spot is not up to speed with the rest of the team and also with the rest of the NFL. When you look at other safeties, he obviously tried to get Marcus Williams in the offseason, struck out there, made a really competitive bid, just didn't get him. So we know that he knows that the spot needed upgrades and didn't really get a major one. So I would say, like you mentioned all the names. There's Anthony Harris, there's Kevon Wallace, there's Andre Chachere, there's this guy that they just brought in, Ugo Amadi. They released Jared May or waived him yesterday. There's another Reed Blankenship who's looked good as a rookie free agent safety. All of them
Hart as well
can be upgraded from. There's not one of those guys that I think is 100% concrete lock safe.
And by the way, they're in Cleveland Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They know that front office very well. Would you be surprised if Howie Roseman is in the ear of Andrew Berry and saying, "Hey, what about Kareem Hunt? Is he still unhappy there?"
What's Kareem Hunt's contract again? Because I'm not sure that they want to pay that money for a guy who's going to play half the snaps or a third. It was good for Cleveland when they were running the ball as much as they were and throwing to the running backs, and that was the majority of their offense.
Well, he's on the last year. He's making $1.3 million this year. He signed a 2-year, $12 million deal in 2020.
Okay, so I didn't realize this was the last year, and it's only
that's why
mil.
That's why he wants to be traded. Or he was holding in. Is he doesn't
right.
The contract he's on is expiring. He's only making $1.3 million, and he thinks that he has outperformed that contract. He's probably right.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's a good player, would help the team, but if you're Howie and you're talking about resource allocation, and you know that you've got guys who can catch the ball like Kareem Hunt, not Kareem Hunt, like Kenneth Gainwell. And that what you more need is maybe a third back who's a power back. Then, to me, I don't know that you've made this team that much better by bringing in Kareem Hunt over a guy who can either be a safety or another tight end.
Yeah, well, and what was the Bates from Cincinnati. I guess there was some talk there that he still wants to be traded. So this is probably like right about this weekend. You would think if they would bring in a player, it would probably be right about this time. We were probably going up other trades that they have made in the past. Ronald Darby was another big one that they did right around this time when they got Darby for Jordan Matthews. And I feel like the Eagles do have the personnel depth that they can probably, we know some of the names that have been brought up, but they've got a lot of defensive linemen. They got a lot of offensive line depth. They actually have some linebackers.
Yeah, they've got depth there. And, of course, Jalen Reagor continues to have a good camp and be out there. And, it's hard to see him having a top 4 receiver spot on this team. So maybe he is someone that another team's willing to take a chance on. So the 80-man deadline, because they just cut down to 85, right? So the next deadline at 80 is next Tuesday, same time, 4 o'clock next Tuesday. So I would think if there's going to be another move made there, that, as you mentioned, with that time being now, it would probably be before that deadline.
Were you surprised that Moreland didn't make the team? Or is there a shot that he comes back, or was that just injury related?
Yeah, they say it's hard to make the tub hard to make the club from the tub, right? He had an injury, and honestly, I'd have to know more about how they viewed him. Did they view him as an outside corner or a nickel corner, because they have good depth now at nickel? Obviously, Avonte Maddox, but Zach McPherson can play there, and I think that they've liked Josiah Scott, his versatility. They've been playing Scott at center. I'm sorry, not center, safety, along with in and out corner. So, yeah, I'm all over the map today. Josiah Scott as a center would be a pretty scary thing.
Right.
Especially for the running backs and the quarterback. But yeah, so I imagine that they felt that they've had the good depth on the inside there. Outside is still a question mark. You got Bradbury and Slay. McPherson would probably be your top reserve at outside corner, and he really hasn't played a whole lot there. So they're you've seen Josh Jobe actually getting some run on the second team. He's had a nice camp, but that's an area where they obviously could use a body. So, maybe they just felt like Jimmy wasn't going to be healthy enough in time or really contribute in that spot.
Yeah, that's because, he's a guy who, we talked about the trade that they made. Amadi as a special teams player. Moreland's been a guy who's contributed to special teams in Washington and Houston.
Right. So, and, they have a decent amount of special teamers who are good at special teams on the back end as well, from Andre Chachere. I'm sure this Blankenship makes it, he'll be it. They've got some good guys on special teams. So, I imagine they wish that Moreland had been more healthy to get a better evaluation of him.
All right. Game Sunday. Moshe, you'll be off the rest of the week for football at 4. So I know it's a little early, but something that Sunday afternoon that you're going to be watching for.
I really do want to see. We mentioned Nakobe Dean. I imagine Juergens, even though he's a first-teamer, might get some more reps because of, in general, he's not going to be a first-teamer when the season starts, and because they are trying to get him up to speed. So that's a good defensive line Cleveland has. So it'll be interesting to see Cam Juergens back out there again. And I do want to see those young guys in the secondary, the Blankenships, the Jobes, and Josiah Scott, to see how they continue to perform.
All right, Sunday at 1 o'clock right here on 97.3 ESPN. Merrill Reese and Mike Quick have the call. Football at 4. We'll have updates tomorrow and Friday as the Eagles will be joint practice. We'll have plenty of notes on both of those days, and then the game on Sunday here. Moshe will be back on Monday to recap the Eagles Sunday. It'll feel like a regular season game, won't it? Not really.
No, not at all.
All right, man. We'll catch up with Mosher on Monday. Take care, bud.
See you, bro.
Geoff Mosher, Football at 4 from InsideTheBirds.com and the Inside the Birds podcast. Make sure you download the podcast with Adam Kaplan and Geoff Mosher.